Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, Gemma. All right, we've got some comments already. There are people here. Hello. That's good to know. Well, welcome everybody. If you're here, it's Sunday, 2 p.m. UK time. I don't know what time it is elsewhere, but hopefully people have been able to join us. So yeah, let us know what time it is where you are if you're not in the UK. Gemma and I are here to discuss Horrorstör, the FOMO book club. It's lovely, Gemma. Jen. Hey. So yes, so Horrorstör was our September-October pick, and quite a good pick, obviously, because it was spooky season. And hopefully, I think quite a few people joined us for Horrorstör. I saw quite a bit of chat about it. I forgot to go onto the Discord this morning. Right. Did you go on? No. I'm terrible. I will pop on Discord. What I need to do is set a reminder in the calendar to go onto the Discord at least once a week to go and check on. Because I do like it when I go in there. There are people having really good conversations and chats, and I do say hello and I do put some comments in there, but it's just remembering to do it because it's not my natural.
Yeah, have a chat.
It's not exactly. So, but yeah, Alice did a good job setting it all up. So
she did, yeah.
I'm going to go in and have a little look. Right, so let's see who's with us. Quite a few people with us. Hello. Loved Horrorstör and finished Southern Book Club and Vampire this morning. Oh yeah, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. It's such a mouthful. His books are such a mouthful. Apart from Horrorstör, one word, it's great. The audio reader was fantastic. I listened to that on audio. In fact, I listened to it on audio. Gosh, the first year I was on BookTube, might even been before I was on BookTube. It was 2020 anyway, and I listened to it. I think in like a day and a half or a day. I listened to it over a good stretch. I was doing some decorating or something.
Okay.
The audiobook narrator is great. Have my Bird and Blend tea ready for today. Good. Welcome to the recommendation. I love a bit of Bird and Blend. I haven't got tea. I've got water this morning, but this afternoon. Morning? It's afternoon.
Afternoon.
I have been up a while, but right. Angie's here. Hello, Ange.
Hi, Ange.
Charlie. Hi, Charlie. Kerry. Hello, Kerry. She's mentioned well-being. Jen's here. Oh, yes, Jen joined us for Horrorstör. Jennifer loves books. Berna read it as well. Hello, Berna. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
Nice to see you here. I saw Cheryl in the in Emily's chat last night, actually. And Jim's here. Yay.
Oh, hi, Jim.
Hi, Jim. Yeah, I watched Jim's what's the word? Review. I've forgotten words today. I watched Jim's review the other day. Yesterday, a couple of days ago. I think we're on a similar wavelength, but kind of not, which we'll talk about when we get into overall thoughts on the book. But yeah, just a little settle in. What are you reading? What's everybody reading at the moment? I like a little general reading chit chat. What are you reading at the moment? You're reading big books, aren't you?
I am. I'm reading this, The Blinding Knife by Grady Hendrix.
Oh, yes. I do need to get into that series. You said it's very good.
So good. I love it. You know, when you're really in the mood for a chunky fantasy as well. And I could quite easily just sack off my life and read this, but unfortunately, like, the kids won't allow that. But
that's what we want, right? This is what I've been wanting this last few months of the year. Books that you kind of like, I've got 5 minutes, I want to go and read my book.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know, I haven't had that for a lot of the year, to be fair. It's like, not that I don't force myself to read, but reading's become like, it's just because I do it. I've got the habit of reading. I'm not doing it because I'm like, oh, my book, I must get back to my book. Most of the year has been like that. But when you've got a book like that, yeah, I love it. You're like, oh, I think it's just getting in the way of me in this book.
It is.
Right?
What are you Jack?
I started Sarum this morning.
Oh, you started that. You were talking about that.
Let me show you how chunky it is. Hang on. Let me get that.
I bet, is the text really small as well?
It's not that bad. It's only like, it's not too bad. It's not terribly small. It's basically, it's probably comparable to the text in Shogun, my copy of Shogun. It's one of those old tiny which we used to call, I can't remember, B format. There was like formats of paperback size when I was a bookseller. I can never remember which one's which, but this is the old format, the smaller size paperback.
Yeah.
As opposed to the one you see everywhere nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've got it. I saw it in the charity shop on Friday for £1. £1 a book. But yeah, so they basically £1, which is just an absolute bargain. Because I was like, look how much book you're getting for £1. And the woman was like, that's a lot of book.
That is.
I put it down on the counter. I was like, douche.
How is it though? Is it good?
Straight away I'm into it. It's the type of book that I when I started reading grown-up fiction, it's exactly the type of book I would have just completely lapped up, because I was very, very much into fantasy and historical.
Yeah.
And I love sort of anything set prehistory, a little bit of a Clan of the Cave Bear style. So this is like, if you don't know the sort of premise of it, Sarum, or because I downloaded the audiobook, I had a credit on Audible. I was like, I'm going to get the audiobook as well. I downloaded the audiobook, and the narrator keeps saying Sarum, which I didn't think it would be pronounced, but it's an old name for Salisbury. So,
how is it?
So basically, you see the henge. So basically, I didn't realise, because the book I was most familiar with Edward Rutherford was London, because when I was a bookseller, he published London, which was a book about London from prehistory right through to, I can't know if it's quite modern day, but like, recent history. And it, each chapter follows a different sort of era of London. And so generally what I don't like about that is you can't follow specific characters throughout the whole thing. So I don't know if that's going to bother me, but the first part of it, the writing for the sort of, I can't remember what period it is, but it's basically just after the Ice Age, when Britain is cut off from the rest of Europe. So it starts then. And because there's been people in that part of the UK, it's been continually, what's the word? Inhabited since then. So yeah, so basically, yes, it's so good so far. So far, so good, I should say. I've read the first chapter, basically, which was that one, and then the next one goes on to another era. But yeah, it's exactly, I think you'd love it.
Yeah.
So the character, I don't know, we'll see when I get through to the bit where I have to change characters, and if it's going to be like a series, it might feel like a series of loosely connected stories around a place rather than a novel. So I'm wondering about that, but we'll see how we get on. He's very popular.
Yeah. I've got 3 of his. I've got that one, Sarum, and I've got China, and the Forest, which is about the New Forest.
Oh wow! But the research that's gone into it, you're just like, I'm in awe of the research, because what he does is it's a story, but he's sprinkling in like all the geological facts about how Britain, about the Ice Age, and what they know about the ending of the Ice Age, and how Britain was then separated from Europe, and then how all of the sort of geological stuff, I'm like really nerding out over. It's very good. It's very, very good. See if anyone else is reading. What everyone else is reading. I'm also reading The Whisperwicks, the middle grade.
Oh, how's that?
Love it. So good. So good. That's got so far a potential to be a favourite of the year.
Ooh, high praise indeed.
Jennifer almost finished Seeing by Jose Saramago. Good, but a bit dense. Like this.
Yeah.
Actually, this isn't dense. This is readable. It's just big.
I read Cane by Saramago last year, and it was really good. So I definitely want to get to more of his stuff.
Oh, yeah. I don't know this book. Seeing. Do you know what it's about?
I only know blindness is his big one, isn't it? So
I'm not familiar with the author. You know me.
He's the most popular Portuguese author of our time.
Do you know what? I am familiar because I did the World Cup readathon, and I'm sure Portugal was one of the places I was supposed to read a book from. And I went as far as looking up Portuguese authors, and then just went, who am I kidding? If I'm in the mood for it, I'll read it. Yes, I think I saw his name on that, but yes, no, not read it.
He's very good.
Kerry, I'm reading Metamorphosis by Penelope Lively at the moment. Short story collection, which I don't usually enjoy, but love her writing. So it's okay so far. I'm the same. If it's an author I like, I will read their short stories. but generally I'm not a short story person. You aren't either, are you?
No, not at all.
Although I always said, I'm not a short story person, but years ago, if like Stephen King or I've read quite a few short story collections by Neil Gaiman, I've got Terry Pratchett's short story collection here to read. So I will read them if I'm interested in the author, generally.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ange, listening to There Are Rivers in the Sky, but Elif Shaffer.
Elif Shafak.
Oh, Elif Shaffer. Okay. Is it Shafak?
It is. I think she corrects it later.
Oh, right. Isn't it Elif Shaffer? That sounds like that Elif Shafak. I wonder if it's the same person.
Yeah, it is Elif Shafak.
Well, I know that author. I've never been tempted by any of her books, but I feel like she's a Marmite author. People like really like her or don't, because I've only ever heard really bad things about. What was that one a couple of years ago? It was really big. Everyone was reading.
Oh, it's the one that was Women's Prize listed about the talking tree. I can't remember the name.
People either loved it or hated it. So
yeah, I think some of her other work is more popular, to be honest.
Okay. Berna, I'm reading Towards Zero by Agatha Christie. Just finished The Alienist by Caleb Carr this morning. Interesting. I mean, I'll need to read some Christie. I'm supposed to be doing a live with Emily. Emily said, will you do one of the Agatha lives with me? I was like, does this mean I actually have to read one? Because I need to know.
Which one are you reading?
I don't know, but I'm hoping she'll let me pick. But I don't think she will. I think she's got them all sorted in her head, which one she's reading. She's got a schedule, so I'll have to look it up and find out. Finished ABC Murders. Good.
Nice.
Lots of Christie going on. I'm not opposed to reading Agatha Christie, by the way. It's just because, you know me, I'm just like, I need to know if I'm reading this. I'm just all over the place with my reading at the moment. Shafak. There we go. Right, I have been listening to Raising Hair by Chloe Dalton, and I just adore it.
I really want to read this. It's a non-fiction. It's just been nominated for the Waterstones Book of the Year award. About a woman. I think she takes like a little leveret in and like nurses it back to health.
I love these memoirs. They're always usually this person has experienced some loss or grief or something, and they're raising an animal. It's like they're good memoirs.
Sounds great. Covers beautiful.
Yeah, I think I saw it in Waterstones yesterday. Saw quite a lot of things I was snapping pictures of to add to the wish list yesterday. Right, let's see. ABC Murders is a good one. Elif Shafak. Selling books by the pound. Well, if this one was actually sold by the pound, I probably would have paid far more than £1. It feels like it's a good £2 bag of sugar, actually. At least. Okay. Random letters are not showing. I know. I'm my fingers when I'm trying to type stuff up, and also my predictive text. I hate it. It's always correcting me. It's always wrong. Right. We've got a few things to go through, and then I'm going to hit the what do we think of the book? So people might want to start thinking about their thoughts on the book and put them in the chat. So we're going to chat about it. Right. So Amityville Horror on audio. Terrified already. I would be as well. That would frighten the life out of me. Hobbs Royal Assassins. Oh, look at the Hob reading. Get jealous. Because
I am jealous.
We're going to read some Hob and Bernard Cornwell and all of those things.
And don't have Martha Stewart on our list as well.
Martha Stewart, we do. Is it Martha Stewart? Mary Stewart, not Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart's
a different person.
The American lady who cooks stuff. I have London and also want to read Sarum. Yes. I think this is an Ange book for sure as well. Seeing is the sequel to Blindness. There you go. Okay. Just finished Daphne du Maurier, the Doll short stories collection. I've also like a Daphne du Maurier short story. So there you go. Good.
I don't think I've read any of her.
Cheryl? Good, quite good. Quite good. Yeah, could be hit and miss. Really like Elif Shafak, especially The Bastard of Istanbul. Oh.
I think that might have been her debut, that one.
Maybe. Right, let's talk about Horrorstör.
Horrorstör.
Spoiler warning, first of all. There will be massive spoilers. So if you've not read the book, spoiler warning, you've been warned. I might leave it on the screen. Right, overall thoughts on the book. Ta-da! Overall thoughts, Gemma.
I had a blast reading this book. It was so much fun. We were having a chat just before the live, and I said it's like a dirty kebab. Like, it's really, really delicious when you're eating it, and then afterwards you think maybe that wasn't actually the best, like, nutritionally balanced meal that I've ever eaten. So yeah, there were things wrong with it, but it was so compulsive. Probably the most compulsive book I've read this year, I would say.
Oh, that is high praise indeed. Yes. I similarly loved reading it. I really enjoyed it. I think it's because I could just sit and read it in one sitting, because it's not really that long. I mean, it's 200 and something pages, but most of those pages,
there's a lot of pictures.
Yeah, there's a lot of diagrams. It's a lot of. We'll talk about the book design later, actually, and what that added to it or whatever. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a page turner. It's a page turner. Overall, I would say, in terms of, like you said, I don't know, what is quality? I don't know. Quality is what you enjoy for me, really. And I did enjoy it, but it's not his best book for me, because I've only read one other Grady Hendrix. So this, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, I'll get that right around, which I really enjoyed. And I was shocked at how violent and horrific that book was, actually, very. And this one was milder, but still fairly horrific. But also I found, because it was so short, perhaps maybe that's why it wasn't quite as good. And we can talk about, like, depth of character and stuff later, and people doing certain things. So you can pick holes in this book all day, I think. But in terms of enjoyment, yeah, I really enjoyed it. So yeah, definitely enjoyed it. He's a good author. I think he's a reliable author. I think
I think he knows his audience well. I think he knows what people enjoy, and he doesn't get too bogged down in, like, technicalities. It's just there for a good time.
Definitely. And also, like, he's very cinematic in his writing.
Yes.
I think he's is he a film writer? Screenwriter? I don't know. I feel like he's a screenwriter or something. Someone might know this. I might have to Google it in a bit. But the writing, I think, was quite cinematic. Like, you could imagine it as a horror film in your head. Like, he's clearly someone who loves and watches horror films. That's what it's kind of feels like, that fast pace of a good popcorn movie, basically.
Yes.
What it is, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good popcorn movie. So, in terms of the story itself, spoilers coming up, massive ones, everybody. Right. So, in terms of the book and setting it where he did, I suppose we can talk about the setting and talk about the book design at the same time. I had them as two separate, like, headings to talk about, but actually, I think it's a kind of a key component to it is the setting, obviously, where he's chosen to set the book. What did you think of it all, setting-wise?
I enjoyed it. I thought I really liked how, at the beginning, it was quite normal stuff. So, like, it was like a sofa, right? And he, like, linked that into what he was doing. And that, as you went through, it was actually, like, torture devices and stuff. And like, the descriptions of them, I thought were really fabulous.
They were brilliant.
I really enjoyed that. I thought it definitely added something quite fun and interactive into the book itself. And just sort of on structure, I was going to say, I don't know if yours is the same as mine, but it is the same as mine. Like, the big gaps between, like, the middle of the page and I really liked that. I found it really, I don't know, there's something about that was really pleasing for me.
So you enjoyed it, that the way it was laid out, basically, the typeset, the way it was done. Yeah. I found the whole catalogue thing, like, because we could talk about the fact that it's a little bit gimmicky, but I like it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it really did enhance the whole reading experience to me. And I was sitting there thinking about whether I'd have enjoyed the book as much if it was just like a regular paperback and didn't have all of these design features. I do think it enhanced the overall reading experience for me. But in terms of the story, I think the story stands up without it. So I do think the story itself does stand up without it. And I just found it was really fun. It's very quirky. I'm trying to think about who the designer is, actually, because it's not Grady Hendrix himself who did the design for it. We should give them some credit. but I'll try and figure out who that is beforehand. But yeah, it's really well done. And the little descriptions of all the furniture. And as the story goes on, like you said, they're turning into these torture devices.
Yeah.
So it kind of starts off being fairly bog standard office furniture, home furniture, and then like torture devices as it goes on and on. And at the back, when you've got like, it's all very sinister. And I love the whole sort of the way that this whole corporate culture and the sinister aspect of capitalism and these jobs and retail jobs, which can be hellish. Like I've worked many years in retail before I became a teacher, where it says like, look, we never stop, we never sleep, and now we're in your home. It's so funny. Like the humor is great. So I just love the combination of humor and horror. So good.
Yes, I think that was really well done. He definitely had the right balance, I think, of both.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it was really good. And like so all these things just I think added to it being like it's a popcorn, but like I say, it's a sort of like I don't know, it'd be quite a big budget film actually if you made it into a film, but it's like a popcorn movie, like movie with popcorn, and you just go and you see it and you enjoy it and you have a little ride for an hour and a half and enjoy it. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah,
the humorous parts of the book and the way the book was designed just add to that overall feel for me.
For sure.
Yeah,
I think it's actually a marketing genius move as well.
His books are so well marketed.
They are, but this one in particular, because so many people are moving to Kindle, right? Kindle and audio and all the rest of it. How do you get people to actually buy a physical book now?
Yeah, I wanted this physically. Like
I wanted this physically,
and I've been moving away from physical books more and more. And this one, I was like, no, I need it.
Yeah, and I know some people in the chat didn't read the physical copy, but I do think it's a draw. It's like, oh, actually, I will buy the physical book of that because of all of these extra features. And I think that's marketing genius, really.
His books, whoever does the design for his books, like my best friend's Exorcism, being a VHS tape
thing,
it looks so good. He's got great, like the people who publish his books have done some great marketing. And you just wonder, when you came up with this idea, did the design of the book come as part of it, or was that after someone going, you know what we could do?
Yeah.
You just wonder, don't you? It's like, because I do think the story stands up on its own, which you would have to. Jen read Horrorstör in an afternoon, total page turner. Definitely was. Definitely a page turner. Thought it was just fine, but to be honest, I'm not a fan of slasher movies too. I think it's because I've got like a sound fan. I don't watch them much these days, but growing up, like being a kid in the 80s and the 90s, it was like the big deal was these horror films. So it kind of gives me a bit of those vibes. Like we were big Nightmare on Elm Street fans. Horrorstör was wild, loads of fun. Gemma's dirty kebab analogy is spot on. Exactly, it's a lot of fun, basically. Yeah. Enjoyed it. Went to IKEA with my family over half term. Teenage sons love being so unsettled. Yes, it is. It's all very sinister though anyway, isn't it? Even without Horrorstör. IKEA. Imagine working in IKEA. I've often said that today, like, going in IKEA and you're like, imagine doing nights in IKEA. Be bad, wouldn't it? I couldn't, it would frighten the life out of me. Like the premise, wasn't particularly invested in the characters of Amy and Basil. We will get into those characters, yes. I didn't particularly like either of them, actually. I have to say, I know Charlie loved Basil. We'll talk about him in a moment. Charlie, it's not the best writing. It was exactly what I needed when I was reading it. I just gulped it down. Yeah. Read it as an ebook. Didn't have lots of pictures. Interested to hear about that. Yeah, that's because actually they had it on Everand, and I was looking at it on Everand on my iPad. So if you read it as an ebook, Jen, did you read it on your Kindle, or on an iPad or phone or whatever? Let us know. Southern Book Club is loads better. It is a better book. That's true. I enjoyed it and the commentary of work. I love the tongue-in-cheek comments about a standing desk and treadmill desks. Yeah. I think he's clearly really talking about that, the insanity of work culture and then work from home culture with all the sort of furniture and stuff as well and all that. Yeah, it's crazy. I thought it was tonight. Good thing I checked YouTube. Yes. Hopefully I put the right time when I announced it. Found it quite differently paced to the other books of his. They felt they had a slower build up than the action at the end. Yeah, so this had action throughout, which I wasn't mad about. Interesting. So yeah, his other books, because I've only read the Southern that one. Anyway, and that was a big build up, and there was a lot going on, and the characters did have depth to them. And this is, like I said, if you took out all of the design and all the empty space in the book, it's 200 and something pages, but how long is this really in words? You know, it's probably not a very long book at all. So it's like a novella. I felt like it's not, maybe it's a bit longer than a novella, but yeah, it's very, very, very short. So I don't think, in talking about time to build up the characters, for it. Working in retail can be a horror story in itself. I agree. We were just talking about it, and when I worked in retail, for like, for my first job in a shop was when I was 14, and I worked in a local chemist. And then I went to work in a shoe store, and then I went to work for McDonald's, and then I worked for Safeway, Marks and Spencer's before I landed the best job in retail, which is a bookshop, Waterstones, which is the best job in retail for many, many reasons. One being surrounded by books, but two, it's just a different vibe than working in McDonald's on a Friday night.
Yes, very different vibe. Very different vibe.
Was McDonald's really retail? It's like that corporate element to it. In fact, actually, it's interesting because I worked for McDonald's, and then working for McDonald's, which had quite an American kind of corporate feel about it, to then working for somewhere like Waterstones, where it's not like that. Where it wasn't like that back then. I don't know what it's like now. It's very different vibe. Yeah, they used to make us have rap sessions. They called them in McDonald's. We've got rap session at 5 o'clock. I'm like, oh God. What is this? But you have to, it's basically a staff meeting. It's a rap session. Believe it or not. Charlie, it's just such a great idea to use something so familiar to us and then twist it. Yes, exactly. And also, much like those like really great like end of the world zombie films where they always end up in a shopping mall. Like I love the idea of like a ghost hunt or whatever in this massive space, this big like IKEA warehouse space. That's Davey.
Oh, is it? Davey,
you pop by. Pop by and see me if you miss me. He's away at the moment. I listened to the audiobook. I wish I had those design elements. Yes, I think it does enhance the overall thing, because I think the story stands up on its own. I think it's a real page turner, but the design elements of the book, they're just that little bit of icing on the cake, aren't they?
Yeah.
The e-copy had one pick at the start of each chapter. I preferred to have read it physically. Yeah, I think it needs to be. And is it hard to get hold of a physical copy now? I feel like it's a bit trickier for some reason, because I went onto Amazon and you could only find the Spanish one or the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't find an English one. She loved Basil. Read it on a tablet. So that's interesting then. So you read it on a tablet and it didn't have the full. I find that very odd, like the ebook, unless they're just trying to push people to buy the physical copy. I'm late, but you're here. Kat. It's fine.
Don't worry, Kat. We waffled for quite a bit at the beginning, so I haven't missed
a load of waffle. It's fun. The book's very short, so we haven't got much else to talk about, really. Grady's subtle humour in his books is great. Yes, I'm getting that. I think his general writing style is very readable. I think, I was kind of hooked into it from the start, from the opening. I just felt the way his style of writing, I think, is just my cup of tea, actually. I do like what he does. Hello. Right. I worked for Winn-Dixie, a grocery. It would have been terrible to have this situation happen there. When I worked at the big supermarket, so I worked at one of the first supermarkets in the UK to open till 10 o'clock at night, right? Because before then, late night shopping was like 8 o'clock at the supermarket. And it was their big like selling point for opening these massive superstores. Safeway opened them over here, and they were like open till 10 o'clock at night. And everyone's like, whoa. And between 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night, it was like, like tumbleweed. No one's coming in apart from the really, because it was in Camden, and Camden has more like crazy people per square mile than anything else. And then, so basically that's what we'd get, as people just coming in being completely off the wall in there. And I was like 17 working behind this massive deli counter that you need roller skates to get along, that's so long. And you'd see some sights in there. But then at night when they shut it down and we were cleaning and all the lights would go down to sort of like, it was just creepy. These big buildings at night, definitely creepy. The familiar setting also made it really easy to imagine. Yeah, when they were talking about like when she's doing the tour around the IKEA place, and she's like, "You've got to follow the route through this thing,
the Golden Road or whatever the hell it was called." Yeah,
which always freaks me out in IKEA. We try and like work our way around so we don't have to go through the whole thing quite a lot of the time. But yeah, when you're in there and you're like stuck and you can't see any windows, so you've got no idea of what time it is or how to get out. Yeah, it's a bit creepy. Where are we? Jim's never been to an IKEA. You've never lived, Jim. My gosh. No, I don't. But IKEA, I love an IKEA trip, it has to be said. I love going to their marketplace, the IKEA marketplace. Always come out with far more rubbish than you intend to buy. Especially as a teacher, you literally would go on little teacher trips before the start of term. We'd run in there and we'd be buying stuff non-stop for our classrooms because we're like, this is so cheap. Because of course, if teachers stop pumping money into the education system around the world, it would probably all fall apart. Got a physical copy quite easily. Good. I'm glad. Right, put mine on Vinted. 20 people watching it in 2 minutes. Sold it in 3. It must be hard to find. I think it isn't that easy to find anymore. I don't think. Charlie says she got hers quite easily, but I think you might have been lucky, Charlie, because I don't think they're.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hello. Kind banana. Hello. Kat, bought my copy from Amazon, read it physically, listened to it on audio. I loved how the chapters were foreshadowing for what would happen in each chapter. Yeah, so the advertising. So yeah, people who didn't get to read the physical copy. So you've got all this sort of IKEA style advertising at the start. And like you've even got like a home delivery form. You've got like the sort of guarantees and their installation things. And if you read through it, it's all very, very humorous. And then you've got where are we? At the start, you've got a bit of an advert for each piece of furniture. So the Brooker, a sofa that's everything you ever dreamed a sofa could be, with memory foam cushions and a high back that delivers the support your neck deserves. Brooker is the relaxing beginning to the end of your day. But I love the way the colours of the things available in forest green, aubergine, cardinal, and night. So like these weird colours all the way through. But as you went on, they started turning into torture devices. Embrace the simplicity of eternal repetition with Crank, a rustic handle mounted on resistance gears to encourage eternal turning. Enter a meditative state of despair after 100 turns, 1,000 turns, even 10,000 turns. The only rule is that it never stops, even when your body does. Oh, so funny. And at the end, you've got this whole map. Have you noticed of it? It must have been for all the men and women. All the men must work. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. It says all the men must work. Wasn't that what they had above one of the concentration camps was like work? One of the things he said in here when he says like something about freedom through work or something.
Oh, I don't know.
I think that is a reference to something that was above one of the concentration camps. I feel like. But yeah, and he's got this like at the back. He's got the list of the dead things, the prisoners, and then the different areas they were in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't think I'd noticed that.
Yeah, there's tons of stuff to notice in the book as you read it. Okay, so we're going to talk about the characters. Let's talk about them. I'm going to whiz through them because we've got quite a few characters. But we said scariest scene. Scariest scene. What was the scariest scene for you?
So I don't know. It's a throw up between when she goes into the bathroom right at the beginning and comes out and finds like all the graffiti, or that there's more graffiti and it's all these like names and years and stuff. I found that was building the atmosphere quite well, and I quite like that. But then the other one was when, what's her name? Jane Ann? Beth Ann?
Ruth Ann.
Ruth Ann.
Yeah.
When she gets like sucked back into the tunnel.
Yes. Yeah, that wasn't very nice. I was trying to think about it and I was like, I didn't find much of it very scary, to be honest. I'm a wimp, so normally I'm like, oh. But I agree with you. The bit where she goes back and there's all that, the graffitis reappeared, that was quite creepy. And also when if they go off on their own into the store and they can't find their way back, and they were getting lost, that was a bit unsettling for me. I find that quite unsettling. That kind of idea of getting lost in these places. Yeah, so anyone, put all your scariest scenes down below as well. We'll chat about those in a moment. But yeah, I didn't think it was hugely scary. There we go. Oh, the seance I think was quite fairly scary actually, when they were doing the seance and then he like cut his throat. So what do you think of Amy?
She was fine. I think, and this is going to be repeated, and it's already been mentioned in the comment. I didn't feel like any of the characters were particularly well fleshed out. I didn't have any, I don't know, burning affiliation with any of them. And I think she just did some stupid stuff that you just wouldn't, like, she got out and then decided to go back in instead of like driving to like the police station, or
wasn't it that the police, was it they couldn't find the turn off to this massive...
But she could have found them. Like,
true.
What's she doing? Like, who in their right mind would go back in? Like, I don't understand.
I don't either. One of the things that I really didn't like was the decision. There were some seriously silly decisions in this book, which is where we can say we can pick holes in this all day, because generally, I've said to you before this, why I don't read thrillers very often. I don't mind a good thriller. Like, I love a good thriller, like a film of a thriller. But when I read a book, the thrillers that I have read that people seem to like, that seem to be very popular on, like when I was doing Instagram and stuff, I'd read them and I was like, why did you do that? Because if you hadn't done that, but then there'd be no book.
Yeah.
So it's the same with kind of Horrorstör, when they're like, we're not going to call the police because we think someone's breaking in. We're going to stay up all night and we're going to, like, you know, and I thought a lot of it, just call the police. Like, just call the police. Like, why are you getting these low-paid people to stay
saw
home?
That guy in the morning, didn't she? When she came in, she saw the guy. And then it didn't even like occur to her when Basil was like, yeah, let's stay the night, to say, actually, I saw a weird guy this morning.
Yeah, I know. I saw someone that I don't think I recognised working here, but that kind of didn't even cover. Or she didn't really care enough, because let's face it, I don't know. So she's kind of like, the whole way through, she's kind of anti the company, isn't she? She's like kind of a bit anti the company. She's
for sure
one of those people who've worked in a place for years and knows the system and can do her job well enough, but just does what she needs to do. She's not really buying into all this corporate stuff, which all power to her, really. But at the same time, she's also very childish, and very like, sort of her attitude towards things. But then if you think about where she's come from and what she's trying to avoid going back to, like, she doesn't want to go back to live with her parents, does she? Are they in like a trailer park or something?
Yeah,
something like that. But I found her, I didn't really like her character particularly. I didn't really warm to her. Or
no, agree.
Agree. And there we go. Oh, Glenda's asking with the torture, but yes, the torture devices, they were really good. Glenda says, hi, good morning. Would you recommend the book? Yes, I would recommend the book. I liked it. Kat, I haven't been to an IKEA either, Jim. Not sure where there would be one in the States. I thought they were a thing in the States, IKEA. I did think you had them over there. I thought they were there. But maybe not as much as over here in the UK. They're everywhere.
They are everywhere here.
They are everywhere. IKEA setting also made it easy to understand the action for me too. Yes. Yeah, if you've never been to an IKEA, so I suppose you say, if people haven't been to an IKEA, the first time I ever went to one, it is different from other shops. So they're obviously, you might have seen pictures of them. There's these huge box like warehouse structure. They're massive. They're absolutely massive. And when you go in, all of the furniture and all of the stuff that you're buying is set up in fake living areas. So kitchens, living rooms, children's bedrooms, that kind of thing. And so you have to go around and you have to follow through this massive area, this route that they've laid out for you. You have to go through absolutely everything before you can leave the store, unless you've been to it a few times and you know, I can duck down this stairway and I can go to the end and I don't have to go around this big map, which is kind of what he was, you know, really sort of satirizing when she does that tour. They just want you to see everything. So they go, oh, I'd like that. Oh, that's handy. I might have that. I never put that in my room. Yeah. And then you get to the end and there's a massive warehouse where you have to pick out the flat pack furniture for yourself. And the warehouse always reminds me of the end of like Indiana Jones, you know, arc. Yeah. Where they're just wheeling the ark down this big like long tunnel of things. It kind of looks like that. But yeah, it's great because you get to like also go and have like a hot dog. Get the IKEA hot dog. It's great. All the products had number 666 in them too, which was a fun detail. Yeah, so many good details. All right.
I hadn't noticed that. I saw your comment come up and I was like, oh, really? And I had a little flip through. It does. You're right.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, these tiny little attention to detail, and this is a good product. I mean, this is a well-designed book.
Yeah.
That's it, exactly. Our Bite McFry, that's at the top of the, was it Work Will Set You Free? I think that was what they had at the top of the information camps. And it's kind of a similar thing that they say in this book that he puts on the prison.
Yeah.
Yes, Jennifer thought the same. Yeah. Possession bit with the tentacles. Is that your scariest bit, Charlie? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yes, it does. Yeah. So I think that was what it was a reference to. Being locked in a wardrobe, drowning in a flood, or tied to a torture chair. How do you choose the scariest moment? Yeah. I get that. I don't know what it is. The outright horror I never find as frightening as the build up and the kind of tiny hints. I always find people acting in a sinister way far more scary than outright like monsters and things like that. So yeah. There are plenty of anxiety-laden moments. Yeah, I didn't find it really scary. It made me nervous when they were separated. Yeah. I mean, that was the other thing, isn't it? Basil going, let's all split up. I mean, even if you were just looking for someone who'd broken into the store, you're going to split everybody up, including the women, on their own to go and hunt down some random who's broken into the store. So they're just really silly things. I thought, why a seance? Agreed. I did like the premise of those two characters, actually. Let's go back to those characters because we're going to talk about Basil, but the premise of Trinity and Matt trying to get their show picked up. They wanted to do like a ghost hunting type show, didn't they?
Yeah.
It was fun. I thought that was actually quite a good premise for their characters.
I thought it was fun, but then at the same time, I mean, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it wasn't fleshed out enough.
No.
We met these characters like very briefly at the beginning, and suddenly they rock up in the middle of the night, and they're like trying to
all ghost hunting equipment.
Yeah. It was just like, oh right, hi. So yeah, I think it needed a bit more meat on the bones.
If you spent like a week with them at the store rather than a day, like building up, getting to know them or whatever, and then some odd happenings, odd things going on. Yeah, it would be better as a longer book. Basil. Actually, let's talk about Ruth Ann before we talk about Basil. Ruth Ann. She was interesting. I think what I found interesting about her was when doesn't she turn around at one point and say, "I'll stop whining," or whatever she says to her. Like, she's always so nice and so like fluffy and happy and everyone loves her. And she's like nice to everybody. And doesn't she at one point like just tell Amy to like behave? Like she's like, she puts her in her place. And
so I think she was one of the characters that I felt had an actual like character arc. Like she's this perfect like employee at the beginning, and like you say, never really stepping out of her lane. And then we sort of learn later that she's just very, very lonely and all of these things. And you start to see her in a different light. And I quite liked that. But then she died. So
yeah, but also again, like you're saying, this kind of lack of depth a little bit. I think there was more to her. It would have been nice to find out, but I like that sort of when she sort of turned on her eventually. Yeah. Like, don't have to be nice. Yeah. Basil, Charlie's favorite.
Basil.
Yeah, I can't say his name without saying it in that way.
I mean, he was like the cookie cutter, like corporate brown noser, right? Like,
yeah,
we've all met them.
You could see it coming, isn't it? She can't stand him, but he's trying to, what's the word, like he's trying to like push her to be the best person she can be and be the best corporate, like, yes person that she can be. Like, he sees potential in her or whatever. Yeah. That's why he picks on her. It's like, really? I don't know. I mean, there were things that, he was, I suppose at the end they go back together, and if we talk about the ending, they're going to go back in and try and rescue the friends that they didn't rescue the first time or whatever. So he's kind of redeemed himself a little bit. He's not entirely just a company man, but yeah, essentially that's what he was. So that's why I was like, really, Basil?
Yeah. I mean, he was fine. I just think he just lacked, what's the word? Like, any oomph, really. Like, everything he did, like I say, was for the company, for the corporate. I didn't feel like he really valued the staff. I don't know. I think I was getting into like my manager mode. I was like, no, like, that's not
they're people. Exactly.
That's how you develop people, like in their careers either. Like
I think he was a terrible manager.
Yeah. So, but I thought he added quite a lot of colour to the book.
Yes,
I think he made it quite interesting.
The polar opposite of her, isn't he? He's her. Yeah. He's like the. I mean, he's not the ultimate. He's not the antagonist, but he is her kind of mirror opposite in terms of principles and morals and everything else, in terms of what he values. But there was this kind of like, isn't he got a little sister that he looks after or something?
Yeah.
So trying to give him. There's a little bit of Ruth Ann's like, he looks after his sister. Yeah. And all this kind of stuff. And it's like, so kind of giving him a little bit more of a reason for being, so, dedicated to his work, I suppose. But yeah, he was a company man.
Yes. Yeah.
I think so. All right, let's see. Okay. Sandy. Hello, Sandy. Nice to see you here.
Hi, Sandy.
Burner. Why say once we said that one. I agree, Gemma. I couldn't figure out why Amy didn't circle back to the weird guy at the beginning. Amy is immature and not very motivated. Yes. Also, for someone who doesn't want her life to go down the toilet financially, she's not doing the things that are available to her for that to not happen to her. As in, like, if there is a corporate structure and you are in it, fine, and you want to earn more money, then if you don't, unless you want to go and work somewhere else, then why are you resistant to this? If that's what you want, ultimately, it's not just going to be handed to you. Just you've got.
It's actually a lot easier in a corporate environment to climb the greasy pole, right? Because it's so structured. Like, you jump through these hoops and you go up a step, and you jump through these hoops and you go up a step. And she didn't want to jump through any hoops. So it's like, well, that's fine, but then don't whinge about the fact you've got no money.
Exactly. So it's like, you've got a pathway you can follow here. Or if you don't like it and you still want to make sure you don't go, financially to where you don't want to go, find another one to follow. But don't just, she was just really annoying, actually. IKEA is in the US. There we go. I did think it was. Not my favourite store. Such a maze. Yeah. I guess not in Louisiana. They never really hear anyone talk about it. Now I'd like to visit one. They're really good. I mean, all of this is IKEA, by the way. These bookshelves are IKEA.
Mine's IKEA as well.
IKEA. I mean, majority of the ordinary folk in the UK have quite a lot of IKEA in their home. But it's very well made, like in terms of, if for flat pack furniture, Like it can be very sturdy and very reasonable. So never split up with my group. No, never split up with the group. If we've learned anything from watching any horror film, don't split from the group. Trinity and Matt's relationship fell apart pretty quickly. Yes, it did. It did. Ruth Ann was the most complex character. I liked her. Me too. I liked her more than the other two. I wanted more from her, more about her. I felt like she wasn't as, there could have been more on her character. Poor Ruth Ann didn't deserve her ending, the poor thing. She definitely didn't. Definitely not. Basil annoyed me with his corporate talk, but in the end he was tolerable. So it kind of redeemed him at the end. So the ending kind of, he was redeemed a bit more for me at the end. It was hard to connect with characters, although I did like the friendship that started developing between Amy and Basil. I think their idea at the end would have been more interesting. So I think this, that's because they were going back in to try and find everybody, weren't they? Ruth Ann had that great moment of using her last words to reassure Amy it wasn't her fault. Loved her for that. She was a great character. Yeah, she was the likable one out of all of them. Where are we? Kat said, where are we? It would be more interesting than a lot of what happened in the meat of the book. Oh, you mean them going back in and working together?
Yeah, actually, I agree.
Maybe a follow-up. Basil was a Whovian. I would never not love him. Of course, yes, because he was a big Doctor Who fan. I will defend him forever, even if he was a pillock in places. Oh, dear. Basil's corporate speak was so funny to me. Yes, me too, most definitely. There's an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if anyone's ever seen it, and this really gave me vibes from that. And Buffy goes to work for a fast food chain. And there's a guy working there, and he's the manager, and he's kind of like a Basil character, and he's like showing her the ropes, and he's saying, just think, Buffy, in 5 years you could be where I am, and he's pointing to his badge with his like stars on, like in McDonald's used to get stars, I think it's kind of like the McDonald's star system. You remember when you used to have stars? I don't think they do it anymore, but we used to earn stars. I only ever got 3 because you have to do certain things to get the stars, because one of them's got a little fries thing on for the fry station, be able to cook fries and do the fries. One of them's got a little burger on to do the grill, because like if you do grill you get a burger star. One of them is like a smiley face for the counter. There's one with like a dustpan and brush for doing the lobby, and I can't remember what the other one's for, but I only got 3 of them because I never worked on the grill. I was always around the front. But yeah, so yeah, and that's the sort of thing they do. Like, come on, guys, earn your stars. You don't get more money for the more stars you get. At least I didn't think you did. I didn't anyway. So,
so what's the point? Yeah,
I know. So silly. Grady's deeper reflections on ethnicity, culture, and poverty are really interesting. Basil was really trying to achieve in the corporate world. Interesting. Yeah, because Basil, this is the thing, he had his reasons, his motivations for it as well, didn't he? Because I think it wasn't just the motivation of like being the security and the breadwinner at home. He clearly was a moral person, Basil. So and actually, like you were saying, this idea of ethnicity and culture and poverty, and this is a route out of it for Basil, all this corporate ladder. But Amy couldn't see that. This is what annoyed me about her. And it's like he was trying to, in his way, I don't think he was doing it very well, encourage her and see her to get to reach her potential. But, lots of IKEA in California. Closest to Louisiana is Kansas. That must be a way away then from where Kat is. Yes, research a bit more. Visit, if you see one, visit. Why not visit an IKEA? My dress is from IKEA too, Berna. Yes. It's Europe, everyone in Europe, IKEA everywhere. I saw a video on Instagram where a reader put together IKEA bookshelves and added some extra components, including a rolling ladder. Yes, you can get the ladder. Ooh. You can, with the big, the ones that you build up. Like, Sandy, are yours from IKEA? I feel like Sandy, remember she was building her like little.
Yes, I remember. I can't remember if they were from IKEA or not, though.
Maybe not. Right, so it was all the characters, apart from. Dun, dun, dun. We put them the same. It's not the same person. I think he was just obviously, what's the word?
Possessed.
Thank God you knew the word, because I couldn't think of it. I felt sorry for Carl. Poor old Carl.
Did you?
Like, he was just in there, wasn't he? Like, he was just like a homeless person, wasn't he? I thought he only got, unless I'm forgetting it properly because I read it like a month and a half ago, but didn't he just get possessed at the seance before that? Isn't
Yeah.
Homeless person?
Yeah, no, he was just like a homeless person, like sleeping in the store or whatever. But I don't know. I felt like we'd met him for 2 seconds and then he was possessed, so I didn't really feel anything for him.
I just felt sorry for, because I suppose it was kind of also like, if you think about all of the situations they're in, I can't remember Ruth Ann's like very well, but the background to each of the characters, as in like Basil, Amy, and Carl, and thinking about their financial situation, and you know when who was just talking about poverty and Grady Hendrix commenting on poverty. So basically this whole idea of he's a homeless person, someone being so desperate that every night they're going to go into an IKEA before and hide so that they can sleep in there. Like, it's just heartbreaking, isn't it? I think it's just that the thought of it in general, not that we knew him that well beforehand, but just what his character was having to do.
This is another plot hole for me, right? If he'd been sleeping in there all this time, had he not seen any of this weird stuff happening?
Maybe. Not if he was asleep, I suppose. But the thing is, what started it off, they'd been finding stuff, hadn't they? And then they found a mess on the sofa. But it seemed to me that they're blaming like someone changing their baby on the sofa or something. But I feel like it was probably like a bit more foul than that. I think Gemma's got some company. But yeah, so they were blaming all this stuff on like potential someone breaking in and doing it, but it was obviously supernatural goings on, right? So maybe why hasn't he seen any of this stuff? Another plot hole. Warden Worth.
He was interesting, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean the whole history of his, prison and everything else, and I thought it was again interesting. I think the whole thing, this felt like if it was a longer book, all of these things would have been done better.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't enjoy the book, I really did. But when we talk about the fact that it's like a little, like a greasy kebab, it's like, you can afterwards go, but actually this and this and this and this. But while you're along for the ride, it was good fun. Yeah, Warden Worth, what a horrible, horrible character, and doing all these experiments on.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he's not. It's not as if it's unbelievable though, because he's, this sort of thing happened to people, didn't it? In prisons and camps and all sorts of things, people experimenting on them. So, horrible.
I thought it was an interesting premise that it had been this mill or whatever it was, this prison, and that it was all of the inmates from that. I thought that was an interesting premise, and that Worth was obviously a nasty guy, but it just, I don't know. I don't know. It just was a bit like, oh, is that it?
Was it a bit much of a convenient sort of like? Because I think, you know what? I personally think all of the issues and things we're talking about are because it was so short. That's what I think. It's because it was so short, and actually, if it had been a longer book and of a decent size, a decent sort of length, then a lot of these things would have felt more fleshed out and realistic, and I think would have felt more. I don't know, satisfying narratively, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
I mean, I think we sound quite critical, but like you say, I really enjoyed it. I had so much fun reading it. But when you look back, there's all these things that could have been better.
Yes. Yeah. That's it. I think if people, when I say I'd recommend it to people, I'm like, if you want a good time reading the book and just have fun for like a couple of hours, go for it. It's a good one. Oh yeah, Sandy says yes. Does that mean yes, her things were from IKEA? think so.
Yes.
Mine are like, yes. Here we go. Carl was the host, Gateway to Hell. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Oh. So basically, poor old Carl, I feel like, because he got like he ended up with his cut, didn't he? So it's like, it's very sad. This man is homeless, having to sleep in an IKEA, and then he gets possessed by a ghost and killed by them. Just awful. All you need is a wall full of floor-to-ceiling Billy bookshelves and full of books and a log fire. That's all anyone needs in life.
That is all anyone needs.
And tea. Don't forget the tea. This is her last chance to turn back. It's her last chance to act like a smart person. Amy. Warden Worth was a total maniac.
Yes,
Completely agree. Warden Worth is a nasty fella, the worst of humanity. The way he tortured people was horrible. I did feel badly for Amy in that chair. Oh, definitely. And she was going to give up at that point, wasn't she? She was like, oh, I might as well just give up now.
Yeah.
I thought Warden Worth's demise was a bit weak. Yeah, because it was all very rushed, because he was this kind of very powerful figure. That's what I mean. I think narratively, I would have been more satisfied by this book being longer, which is why we should read more Grady Hendrix, because his other books were a lot more fleshed out. Far-fetched but fun, escapist. That's exactly it, Charlie. Quite right.
Agree.
An escapist read. Someone says to me, I want to read a short book. I've got a couple of hours. Do that. Read Horrorstör. Grady seems to blend in a theme of Second World War camps into all of his books that I've read so far. That's interesting. I can't really remember a huge amount of detail from the Southern Book Club one, because this is before, I'm sure it was before I did YouTube, so I don't remember anything I read before I did YouTube.
What didn't exist before BookTube?
Basically, what I tend to do is, unless it's a favourite that I've then reread or that was really stuck with me, I tend to remember whether I liked it or not. So when people ask me, say, "Oh, I've read that. I liked it." Like, "Oh, which bits did you like?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just remember that I liked it. It was good. I enjoyed it. With it." Yeah. But there were bits in that stuck out for me. The horror was quite horrific in that, I think. I was actually amazed that Amy and Basil actually lived through their torture. Yeah, they were tortured quite badly, weren't they? Yes, I agree. Right, now then. The ending. We just kind of talked about it in a roundabout way there. Yeah, I'd like more of them. I'd like more of Amy and Basil going into battle. Ghosts and find their friends.
Yeah. I thought it was a bit unrealistic that both of them would make the same decision to go back in. Like independently, and then just happen to meet in the car park.
Yeah. That was a bit of a.
That seemed a bit odd to me.
Coincidental.
But there's a page at the back. Let's see if I can find it. This one, where it's like, 24 hours sleepy time. Say,
yes,
baby planet,
baby, yeah,
planet baby, and I was like, ooh. So
round the clock convenience. So much fun, you never leave.
I just think that those little touches just tickled me quite a lot.
Yeah, the little coupons and stuff.
Yeah, I love all of that. I think that's so cleverly done.
Really good. Yeah, I loved all of the design stuff. I think when you really look at it as well and take time to read some of it, it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
I wonder what if like people at IKEA, like who work in, like in corporate headquarters in IKEA, must have read this book, surely. You would, right? You would like totally be reading this book. I'd be quite flattered. No, I imagine they probably weren't. It's like ripping the mick out of their corporate structure a little bit, maybe. Okay. Now then, what did other people think of the ending? Charlie Brooke, far-fetched but fun thing in categories.
Yeah.
The main character's son in Southern Book Club is obsessed with the concentration camps and awful testing. There's the detail. Yeah, I'd not read any other. I really want to read My Best Friend's Exorcism. Is the next one.
Yeah, I want to read that. I think that'll be the next one I go to.
That was a convenient meeting, Gemma. What was?
When they met in the car park.
Oh, when they met in the car park. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, fancy seeing you.
Yeah. Agreed. The ending was a section I liked, as it it was at least interesting. Oh, you mean the ending when they escaped, or the very ending where they met up and went back in? Werner, interesting. When they went back in, I was like, why? Surely everyone is dead. How can anyone benefit unless Hendrix already had plans for a sequel? Yeah, it feels like we've talked about the kind of cinematic feel of this book for a while, and it reminds me of a lot of things. It reminds me of so many things. It's like an homage to a lot of kind of movie horror. It also reminded me a little bit of, we talked about this House of Leaves, because it's about a place where there's space within it or behind walls that you weren't expecting to be there, which it happens in House of Leaves quite a lot. I mean, House of Leaves is very disturbing parts of that, I think, which you're reading at the moment, aren't you? Or are you going to read
January?
January. So yeah, so parts of it reminded me of that. But when you talk about this kind of idea of plans for a sequel, the ending, I suppose, I don't know what it is, but in my head, I'm hearing 80s music throughout this book, because it's kind of giving me those, like, you know, like little horror film vibes. And, you know, they would leave it like that for a sequel, wouldn't they? If it was like, and so kind of like Grady Hendrix possibly leave it for a sequel. You never know.
I think a sequel would do really well if they laid it out in the same format, but it's just whether he could make it different enough from
that's the thing.
Horrorstör. But I think people would buy it for sure.
Yeah. I think he's got enough fans now. He's got quite a big fan base now, hasn't he?
He does, yeah.
He's well enough known now that the majority of things he puts out are going to sell, I think. When they went back in, so that's what you found interesting. That Bernard found the most interesting bit. The format of the book was quirky and fun. It was an original idea for a book. I'm glad I read it. Enjoyed my best friend's exorcism, and we sold our souls much better. Yeah, I feel like these other books of his are going to have more meat to them.
Yeah,
which is what we've been saying is missing from this, really. I think missing. I still enjoyed it. A lot more character development. Yes. I gave Horrorstör 3 stars. If you were rating it, Gemma, what would you give it overall?
I gave it 4. I think we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but I think subjectively it was a 3-star read. However, I just had so much fun that I gave it 4.
Yeah, enjoyment alone. So I'm in agreement with you, because it is, I think, objectively a 3-star book, but enjoyment wise, it's a 4-star book for me, because I had so much fun reading it. I really, really enjoyed reading it. If I'd have read it in a different format, I don't know, would I have appreciated it as much, or the humor as much? Maybe that part of it wouldn't have been there. I don't know. So 3.5 for Berner. I think the ending gave Amy and Basil a more authentic purpose. Yes,
I don't know. Would you really go back in? Like, it'd been a while, hadn't it? Because they've been recovering. But they're definitely dead now. They're dead.
Ruth Ann's definitely dead. We know that, right?
Yeah.
The other two, like, how well did they really know them to be risking their lives and going back into a house of horrors for them? You know, I don't know. Is it believable they would do that? I don't know. 4.25 from me. Yes. So Kerry enjoyed it, I think, kind of on the same level as we did, I think. Jim gave it 3 stars. I did see Jim, and I think it's a fair assessment. I think basically depends on how you want to grade your books. I tend to go with what my enjoyment of the book tends to be, which is why I don't rate anymore. I don't rate my books anymore, like with stars. I tend to not do that, especially on Goodreads and stuff. I think it does help authors and stuff if you do that, but I tend not to rate books, because there's people following me on Goodreads now, and I feel like they'll see my ratings and they'll be like, oh, that must be amazing. And I'm like, was to me. Probably not. So I think, I definitely agree, Kat. Yes, the ending gave Basil and Amy all purpose, I think, is what Bernard's agreeing with there. 4 for me. Yeah, definitely a 4. I wouldn't personally have gone back in. I wouldn't have worked that night at all. Yeah, I wouldn't have been like, I'll agree to stay here and hunt for some unknown person in the store. That whole
I wouldn't now, but when I was younger, I did stupid stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I used to walk home from working the night shift at a nightclub on my own. Like, who does that? Like, what a stupid move. So,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff I would have done when I was younger that I wouldn't do now in terms of my safety. I compromised my safety so much. Like,
sure. Yeah. You think about it now, like as a fully grown adult, and you're like, what a moron.
What are you doing?
You know.
I hated every book I'd read up till that point. So when I read it, I was initially overhyped, but with space, I'd probably give it a 4.25 as well. Agreed. But this is the thing. I think sometimes as well, it's like, I was talking to someone about this whole idea of, you know, when you read a book, you have to be in the right frame of mind for some books. And there's like, people were talking about Legends and Lattes and how much they loved it. I loved that when I read it. I absolutely lapped it up, because when I read it, I needed to read something like that. So it was just perfect for me. Though objectively, that's not that great a book either. You know, it's not. But what I needed at the time, and actually, same as Charlie, I was like, I sat down, and it's the first time I've sat and read a book cover to cover in a while. And that experience for me is always a joy if I can do that. And so it was just like perfect. And all the little bits of extras, all the graphics, all the things just made it such a lovely experience. So yeah, I'm rating it that. Now then, next book, a little bit longer.
I'm excited for this.
I'm psyched. Have you got the actual book there? Because obviously I've only got the ebook. But the next book is the first one of our new books.
Yes.
And also another, and this actually, Horrorstör, Alice bought us these, didn't she?
She did.
So these were the last, they weren't the last books I got from Alice, but they were the last Christmas presents I got from Alice, because she knew they were coming up. And I think she would have had fun with this.
I think she would have had fun.
Most definitely.
Do you think she would have picked a lot of holes in it as well, though? Because she's very into that sort of like working things through logically, and
she doesn't like stupid decisions as well.
So I think she'd have inhaled this in the same way that we did.
Yeah. So let's see if I've got a picture of it on here, because I think I do. But yes, so we're doing Cloud Cuckoo Land. Which is a little bit longer, just a little bit.
Is it over 500 pages?
It is. I think it is. So it is officially a tome, is it? If it's over 500, is that officially a tome?
I think so.
I think officially Kindle. Let me get my Kindle copy open, because I mean, you can't really tell on the Kindle, can you? But it does give you a page count. Look. So Cloud Cuckoo.
Goodreads says it's 626 pages.
I think it's the longest one we're doing this year.
Yeah. Well, the longest one, is this the longest one we've ever done for FOMO? How long was Unsheltered?
Yeah, it's longer than Unsheltered. Ta-da! There we are. Cloud. So hopefully some people are joining us for it, but if you're still undecided, we picked it because Alice absolutely championed this book so much after she read it. Was it part of the BookTube prize that she read it for?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. So she I don't think she would ever have picked it up. She said, I'm sure she's done a few books that she's read for prizes where she's like, I wouldn't have picked that up, but I loved it. Yeah. And basically it is, I'm just going to read you the thing. It says 15th century Constantinople, present day Idaho, the future and humanity's last hope. Across time and space, 5 young dreamers are bound by a single ancient text. Together, they tell a story of a world in peril, of the power of words, of resilience, and of hope against all odds. The Pulitzer Prize-winning author of All the Light We Cannot See returns with a heartbreaking, magnificent epic of human connection and a love letter to storytelling itself. There we go. Sounds right up my street. Yes, because I like all the things. It's ticking all the things. There's a book. There's storytelling is kind of a theme. There's different time periods, historical, future as well. So it's a bit sci-fi. Because I was saying to someone, I was like, it's a little bit sci-fi. They're like, no, it isn't. I was like, it was set in the future, so surely it's set in the future, so surely it is a little bit sci-fi. And yeah, so I'm well up for it. So hopefully people will be joining us for it because it's a long one. But should be a good one. Yeah, and I'm wondering when to read it. when am I going to start it? This is the thing, because I feel like I don't want to start it too early. There'll probably be so much detail that I'll forget everything if I read it now in November.
Yes.
Because my memory's not that good.
Yeah.
But I've just started a 1,400 page book. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. So I feel like if I maybe at the start of December, come hell or high water, I'll start Cloud Cuckoo Land.
I think obviously I'm reading this. I've got 300 pages left of this, so I want to finish that, and then this is my workbook club pick for November. So I want to finish. Are
you enjoying it? Like from
I'm only a chapter in.
It's supposed to be very good. I got it on the Kindle. I haven't read it.
Yeah, so I'll finish these and then I'll start it. I think that's the plan.
Yeah, I'm kind of mood reading at the moment, and to be fair, I feel like it's the sort of book I'd be in the mood to pick up most times, because it sounds like it sort of ticks all my boxes for things I enjoy. So we've got a chunky book now. Then, we've got that. I'm glad you chose it because I really wanted to read it. Grady Hendrix is creative. Thank you, Kat. I'm glad you read it with us and enjoyed it. And more Grady Hendrix, yes, coming this way, I think, for me. I like a chunky book. Looking forward to it. Yes, we like big books. we like big books. 622 hardback. Yeah, you've got the hardback, haven't you, Gemma?
I have, yeah.
This is the thing about these. I can't have a big book in hardback. Lately, I generally can't have a big book in paperback, but this was such a bargain. I couldn't not pick it up.
Well, if you think that's bad, I picked this up the other day in hardback. Look at the size of that.
Is it?
The Bright Sword by Lev Grossman.
Oh, Lev Grossman. He did The Magicians, didn't he?
He did. This is an Arthurian fantasy retelling. So it sounds like a very Jack book, but possibly not in the hardback. Not in the
hardback, though, yeah.
Yeah, it's about 700 pages.
Yeah, that's a chunk. And this is the thing, like, when I've got big books to read, even like a small hardback, actually I'm reading a few things, because I started reading that biography of Earl, and it's not even a thick hardback, that Earl Slick biography I bought when we were in York. And it's not a big hardback, but because it's a hardback, and also I don't want to ruin it, so I won't carry it around with me because it's a signed copy. But it just sits next to my reading chair, and when I've got a spare moment, I'll pick it up and read it. But this is why I have to have several books on the go, because I need all formats for all eventualities.
Yeah.
Yes, Alice sent me mine. Looking forward to Cloud Cuckoo Land. So Angie's Cloud Cuckoo Land was a present from Alice. So nice to read it. Cloud Cuckoo Land is big, but it reads fast. So Sandy read it for the BookTube prize. I think that's probably what Alice did, actually. Cheryl, love Cloud Cuckoo Land. Hope you all have a great time with it.
Did Alice make you read it?
I bet Alice made Cheryl read it, actually. Yeah, I bet. I'm very excited about our next book. Me too. It's going to be so much fun. And actually, what I'm going to do, I don't know if anyone here goes on the Discord, but for people who go on Discord, I'm going to go on the Discord for Cloud Cuckoo Land and start putting thoughts in, because it's a big book. And I feel like it's one of those ones where it's such a big book, I'll put thoughts in along the way, obviously covered, spoilery things covered up and everything. But yeah, I think it might be a good one to discuss as we read.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Alice and I were in the same group that year, so there you go. Yeah. Niche off, thanks so much. Really enjoyed the book and the chat. Glad you did, Kerry. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to be finishing up now. Kat, I'll be joining you for Cloud Cuckoo Land. Good, I'm glad you are. Glad you're coming along. Leanne, do you know what date we'll regroup to talk about Cloud Cuckoo Land? Sorry if I missed you giving that date. Well, we haven't put a date in for it, but usually it's that we have done it before. We've done that like betwixtmas period, haven't we?
Yeah. Between Christmas and New Year, yeah.
A bit between Christmas and New Year. So try and aim to have it finished. I mean, it'd probably be closer to New Year.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So they give people that extra bit of time. So because the after New Year we'll be back at work and probably like lots to catch up on. So I don't think fitting in a live will be the easiest thing. So that week between Christmas and New Year is usually about the time, Leanne. But we'll announce it once we've agreed a date. It'll be over on Gemma's channel.
Yeah.
I'm planning to start at the beginning of December, since I had a bunch to read in November. Yeah. So I'm doing it mainly for the poor memory. Perfect for a winter read. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like this. Is why we chose it. We chose chunky book. We were like, right, chunky book. It's got to be in winter.
Yeah.
Missed this one. It was not my thing, but I might pick up Cloud Cuckoo Land, though I didn't like all the light. I cannot see very much. I think they're very different from what I've been told.
I didn't like that one either, so I'm hoping this has different vibes.
That's the one that they made into a film recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's about a blind girl in Paris during the Second World War.
Yeah, because they kept advertising on Netflix. Was it
yeah,
Netflix?
It has been made into a film. I might watch the film. I'll probably enjoy that more than the book.
A lot of the time, when if I've not enjoyed a book, I'll enjoy the film more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like
I'm really tempted to go and watch Foster as well. I didn't love that by Claire Keegan, but I think the film could be really good. I liked it enough, but I think the film will be better.
Yeah, I've not read it. I read So Late in the Day. We were chatting about that with Ben. It's like it's a short story you put into a hardback and sold. It's quite right. I'm going to audiobook it, but might borrow the physical copy so I can take pictures of quotes, etc. Yes. If you audiobook it on Zigzag, then you can save the quotes, can't you? On Zigzag, I feel like, Cheryl. Alice did indeed make me read it just after she did. Yeah, she's probably like, she was telling all of us, read it now. You have to read it. And she was like, Jack, you'll love it. It's just she knew, like, she's like, look, it's got all these things in it. You'll love it. So yes, I'm sure I will. Perfect Sunday afternoon. Thanks both. You're welcome. Glad you could join us. And Anne said, Robert is looking for judges for next year. I love this so much. Ange, I shouldn't have put your banner up, really. No, people do need to take part in the BookTube Prize. It is a valuable service. I won't be doing it because it will make you miserable. It would just make me miserable.
Try it.
It would really make... I mean, I always agree to review children's books for this website, which I think is brilliant because the website's fantastic and it's for teachers and parents. If you want good... like critical, proper reviews of children's literature as an educator or a parent, then you go to a website called Just Imagine, and it's fantastic. And all of the people on there are educators and teachers and what have you that review the books, and they review it with like a critical eye and often through like different like social justice lenses and stuff. It's very good. So I'm always like, yes, I'll do that because it's important. It's an important website. So they're always like, shall we send you some books? How many can you take? And I'm like, oh, I'll take 4 as long as some are picture books. And then as soon as I get them, I'm like, and they were only children's books, right? And I'm doing that because I feel like it's a really valuable thing to do, which I think the BookTube Prize is as well. But can you imagine if I get assigned a load of really heavy, like big, and it's also if it's literary, I'm never gonna read again.
Yeah, to be fair, this is why I'm not doing the non-fiction. I'm only doing the fiction because I did the non-fiction one year and
they always pick really hefty books for the non-fiction, and also it's quite American centric.
Super, like all of the books I got were really Americanized, and I was just like that. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to read. But I don't want to read 6 heavy non-fiction books about America. Like I've never even been there. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just not relevant to you, right? It's like I mean, it can be. You can see how it could be relevant to everybody reading certain things, but some things you're kind of like, I don't know, if this is. Something
I would read 6 chunky books about the UK, and I live here.
Exactly.
Like, just
agreed. Right, Kat, as always, enjoy spending time with you all over in the chat. Fun discussion. Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone. Yes, we are going to head off. We're just having a little general chit chat now.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody. Got carried away with BookTube Prize. Looking not king, although he is the king of the BookTube Prize. Agreed. Right. Your discussion is always so good. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Berna. Quite often I feel like I'm just talking nonsense, but as long as it's a good discussion and people enjoy it, that's the main thing. Right. Join us for the next one. I hope everyone's... I will drop into the Discord and I will see you all on the next one. Betwixtmas. Bye, Cheryl. Bye, everybody. Bye, Sandy. Right. End stream.